It's not a coincidence you found this video. You know, sometimes life feels like walking through fog with a heavy backpack you didn't even realize you were carrying. It creeps up on you slowly. Disappointments, unanswered prayers, quiet fears. And yet we keep going. Smile on the outside, storms on the inside. It's wild how we can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone in what we're going through, right? Maybe it's something you haven't even told anyone. Maybe it's something you've been carrying for years. Maybe it's that silent question that keeps echoing in your chest. God, do you still see me? Let me tell you something deep, something you might not hear often enough. Yes, he sees you right here, right now, in the middle of your mess, in the quiet of your room. In that moment you exhaled and thought, I can't do this anymore. But here's the twist. The story ain't over, not even close. You see, one of the most powerful things Jesus ever did wasn't just walking on water or healing the sick. It was showing up for broken people, for people judged by others, for people who didn't fit the mold, people like me, people like you. Jesus didn't wait for perfect settings or spotless hearts. He walked right into the chaos, right into the dirt, right into real life, and that's what he's still doing today. You don't need to climb a ladder to reach him. You just gotta whisper. That's how close he is, but I get it. Sometimes we doubt because things take time, and our world hates waiting. But God, oh God, he moves in divine timing, not deadlines. There's this passage in Luke chapter 4 where Jesus returns to his hometown. People knew him as the carpenter's son, not the Messiah. They weren't expecting greatness from someone so familiar. Isn't it funny how even today people underestimate what God can do through someone like you? But Jesus, he steps into the synagogue, opens the scroll and reads, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." Chills, right? That was the moment he declared who he truly was, the moment prophecy collided with present. And it happened in an ordinary place, with ordinary people just like us. That's the heart of this message. God shows up in the ordinary and turns it into holy ground. You might feel stuck. You might feel like doors have been slamming shut. But what if that's because the door God's about to open is bigger than anything you've seen before? Yeah, let that sink in. Sometimes God closes doors not to punish us, but to protect us, to redirect us, to prepare us, because he knows what's on the other side. He knows who you're becoming, even when you can't see it yet. So if you're standing in a hallway of closed doors, take a breath. Don't panic. Don't rush. The one who holds the keys is standing right beside you. And when he opens the door, no one, not fear, not doubt, not even your past, can shut it. This ain't just about surviving life. It's about living in the fullness of God's timing. And maybe, just maybe, that starts today. Waiting. It's that four-letter word we don't talk about enough. It sounds harmless, right? But it can crush you from the inside. You pray, you believe, you fast, you cry, and still nothing. You start to wonder if maybe God forgot. Or maybe he's busy with someone else's miracle, or worse. Maybe he's disappointed in you. Let's be real here. We've all been there. In that space between the promise and the breakthrough, it's the wilderness. It's quiet, uncomfortable. Sometimes it even feels like punishment. But here's what nobody tells you up front. The waiting season is not wasted. It's actually sacred ground. Yeah, I said it, sacred. Because it's in the wait that God does some of his deepest work in us. Think about a seed. When you plant it, you don't stare at the dirt every 5 minutes yelling, "Grow already." You trust the process. You water it. You wait. And underground, where you can't see it, life is forming. That's you right now. God's working in the hidden, in the dark soil of your struggle, in your late-night prayers, in your tears. Every tear you've cried, he saw. At every silent prayer, he heard it, and not a single one went to waste. I know it's hard to believe when the timeline looks blurry, but listen, delay is not denial. And closed doors aren't always rejections, sometimes they're just redirections. Jesus himself knew this tension. After being baptized and filled with the Spirit, he didn't immediately go start his ministry. Nope, he was led into the wilderness. 40 days of silence, 40 days of waiting, testing. But here's the kicker. He came out in power, so will you. See, there's a version of you that exists on the other side of this wait. Stronger, wiser, unshakable. The enemy would love for you to give up before you get there. But not today, not you, because here's the truth. Every chapter of pain is a setup for purpose. God's not just preparing the blessing for you, He's preparing you for the blessing. You might not feel it right now, but growth is happening. He's stretching your faith, refining your trust, clearing the noise so you can hear His voice. Again, and when that door opens, and it will, you'll understand why it had to be this way. You'll look back and see that God wasn't late. He was right on time, so keep showing up, keep praying, keep believing, even when the weight feels like a wall. Remember, walls fall, doors open, and heaven always moves when faith stands still but firm. Let me ask you something real simple. What if the miracle already started, and you just haven't noticed it yet? We're so used to looking for big dramatic signs, lightning bolts parting seas, some voice booming from the sky. But sometimes, the door opens with a whisper. Maybe it's that person who suddenly came into your life with exactly the words you needed. Maybe it's that job offer you almost ignored. Or maybe it's just a sudden peace in your heart that doesn't make sense, but feels so right. That's God. That's Him moving. See, we want the door to swing wide with fireworks. But more often than not, God works in quiet revolutions. He moves in the stillness, in the coincidences, in the moments we almost overlook. And here's the kicker. The enemy knows that too. That's why he'll try to distract you. Whisper lies, make you feel like nothing's happening, like God's not listening. But if the enemy is bothering you, that means something is happening. Think about it. Thieves don't break into empty houses. If you're under attack, it's probably because heaven is about to release something over your life that hell is terrified of. Yeah, read that again. Look at Jesus again. When he opened that scroll in Luke and declared that he was the fulfillment of prophecy, people were shook, not amazed, offended. They tried to drag him out, push him off a cliff. Why? Because when purpose steps forward, resistance rises too. But Jesus didn't panic. He didn't explain himself. He walked right through the crowd and kept going. That's the power of someone who knows who they are and who walks with the favor of God. You've got that same authority over your life. You may not feel it right now, but listen, if Jesus lives in you, then the same Spirit that raised him from the dead is alive in you too. That's not just a pretty verse. That's real power, real confidence, real access to open doors that no human hand can shut. And guess what? Some of those doors are already creaking open. You just need eyes to see it. Sometimes the open door is peace in the middle of chaos. Sometimes it's strength you didn't know you had. Sometimes it's the courage to say, even if nothing changes, I still trust you, Lord. That kind of faith shakes the heavens. So yeah, maybe the door isn't wide open just yet, but you're not where you used to be. You're moving, you're growing, you're hearing this message right now for a reason. This moment right here might be the hinge on which everything starts to turn. All right, so we've talked about the door, we've talked about the wait. Now let's talk about walking through that door. Here's the thing, a door God opens won't always look like what you imagined. It might not be shiny, it might not feel safe, it might even scare you a little, but here's a truth that'll mess with your fear. Faith doesn't wait for fear to leave, it moves in spite of it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need a yes in your spirit. Because sometimes God doesn't show you the whole staircase. He just shows you the next step, and that's enough. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to trust that He is. Maybe that open door is starting a project, healing a relationship, forgiving someone who hurt you, letting go of what you thought your life would look like. Maybe it's saying yes to something that terrifies you. But deep down, you know it's God. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. Walk anyway. You think Moses didn't feel the weight of it when God told him to go face Pharaoh? You think Esther didn't feel her heartbeat in her throat when she stepped into that throne room? You think Peter didn't question reality when he stepped out of the boat onto the water? They all had doubts, but they also had something greater: obedience. And that's where the power is. It's not in being fearless. It's in choosing faith over fear. Obedience over comfort. Purpose over pressure. Because when you walk through a God-opened door, you're not walking alone. The same God who opened it will go before you, behind you, beside you, within you. And listen, that step of faith, it might be the exact thing someone else needed to see so they can take their step too. You're not just walking through for you, you're walking through for your family, for your future, for the people you haven't even met yet, who need the Jesus they'll only meet through your story. That's why the enemy's been trying to scare you off. He's terrified of what happens when you actually believe you're chosen, called, empowered, loved. But guess what? Too late. You're already moving. Here's the truth that flips everything. It's not about the door. It's about who holds the key. So often we obsess over what's next, where to go, how it's gonna happen. But the real security, it's not in the open door. It's in knowing the one who opens it. And that one is Jesus. Yeah, that Jesus, the one who sat with sinners and touched lepers, the one who walked dusty roads, loved relentlessly and never backed down from darkness, the one who died so you could live fully, freely. He's not distant. He's not confused about your life. He's not pacing heaven wondering what to do with you. No, he's holding the key. Revelation 3:7 says it plain. What he opens, no one can shut. And what he shuts, no one can open. That's power. That's sovereignty. That's safety. You don't need 10 backup plans when he's the one unlocking your next move. And you don't need to fear closed doors either. Because when God shuts a door, he's not rejecting you. He's redirecting you. He's shielding you. He's saying, not this. I've got something better. Can you imagine how much that changes everything? Instead of panicking when something doesn't work out, you can breathe and say, all right, God, you're in control. Lead the way. That's trust. And trust is where real freedom lives. But here's the part we often skip. Sometimes God opens the door and we hesitate. Not because we don't believe he can, but because we don't believe we can. We look at ourselves, our flaws, our failures, our fears, and we start thinking, who am I to walk into something holy? Who am I to carry his word, his plan, his light? And Jesus is like, exactly, that's the point. It's not about who you are, it's about who I am through you. Let that sink deep. You don't have to be perfect to be chosen. You don't have to have it all together to carry his glory. You just have to be willing. And when you are, oh man, that's when things get real. Because the door doesn't just lead to opportunity, it leads to purpose, to calling, to a life marked by the fingerprints of heaven. And yeah, not everyone's gonna get it. Some people from your past may question your present. They may say, you? Doing what? Just like they said about Jesus in his hometown, isn't this Joseph's son? They'll try to box you in based on where you came from, but God isn't interested in their labels. He's already marked you with his loved, called, anointed, chosen. And when heaven says go, no voice on earth gets to say stop. So stop doubting your seat at the table. Stop shrinking when he's calling you to step forward. The door is open, not because of who you are, but because of who he is, and he is enough. Okay, take a breath. You've come this far. You've been listening, feeling something stir in your chest that maybe, just maybe, this was for you all along. And you're right, it was. Because here's what I believe with everything in me. You're not hearing this by accident. You didn't stumble on this message randomly. God's been drawing you in, whispering, nudging, waiting for this exact moment. This is your moment, the moment where it all shifts. Not because the situation changes instantly, but because you do, right here, right now, in this sacred quiet. Space where God speaks loudest. Maybe you've been holding on by a thread. Maybe you've been numb for months. Maybe you've been smiling in front of everyone and breaking behind closed doors. Whatever your story, this is the invitation. Come back, come home, trust again, walk through the door. Jesus isn't asking you to fix everything before you come. He's not asking you to figure it all out. He's not looking for perfection, just a heart that's willing to say, "Here I am, Lord. I don't have much, but you can have all of it." That's the kind of heart heaven rushes in to meet. And listen, I know it's scary. I know it feels big, unknown, vulnerable. But can I tell you something? God doesn't waste surrender. He honors it. He multiplies it. He meets it with grace so thick it'll wreck you in the best way possible. So let go of the fear, the timeline, the pressure. Let go of the voice saying you're too late, too broken, too far gone. You're not. You're exactly where you need to be to hear this. God is still writing your story. And this chapter, it's called Restoration. He's opening doors right now. Doors you prayed for in whispers. Doors you didn't even know you needed. And he's asking, will you walk through with me? Not alone, not in your own strength, with him. So whatever it is you're carrying, grief, anxiety, shame, regret, lay it down actually, right now. In your heart, just whisper, "Jesus, I give it to you." That's it. That's where healing starts. That's where joy returns. That's where the light starts creeping back into places that felt permanently dark. And as you step through the door he's opening, may you remember this truth deep in your bones. If God is for you, nothing and no one can stand against you. This is your moment. Let's go. So here we are. Not at the end of a message, but at the beginning of a new season. You've made it through the doubt, through the silence, through the waiting. You've heard the call, you've felt it in your spirit, and now it's time to walk bold. Not because you have all the answers, not because life suddenly got easy, but because you know who's walking with you. The door that God opens isn't just an opportunity, it's a statement. It says, "My child is ready to love deeper, to believe again, to live on purpose, to rise from what tried to break them." And that's you. Look around. Some of the very things you once prayed for, you're living in now. The job, the healing, the peace, the second chance. You may have forgotten the prayer, but God didn't. He opened doors when you were too tired to knock. And guess what? He's not done yet. So now, it's time for you to speak life into your future. Say it out loud if you can. Whisper it if you must. Write it down if your voice is trembling. This is the season where things begin to shift. This is where fear loses and faith wins. This is where I stop surviving and start living. You're not who you used to be. You're walking with the King. And every step you take, heaven celebrates. Every door you walk through in obedience, God multiplies. So walk in grace, walk in confidence, walk like someone who knows that the same Jesus who read the scroll in that synagogue now writes destiny across your days. This is more than a message, it's a call, and I hope you hear it loud and clear. The door is open. Go live what God already prepared. Let the world see what happens when someone ordinary says yes to an extraordinary God. Let your life be the loudest praise you ever give, and never forget, if God opened it, no one can shut it. Now go. Before you go, I just want to say, thank you for spending this moment with me. If this message spoke to your heart, if it brought you peace or clarity or even just a little hope, then it was worth every second. I'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. It's always amazing to see how far God's word can travel and who it's touching around the world. And hey, if you felt something, here. If you want more messages like this that speak to your soul, hit that subscribe button. It helps this message reach more people who need it. And it means we'll stay connected, heart to heart, spirit to spirit. Until next time, Stay strong, stay hopeful, and never forget, God is not done with your story. See you in the next one.